Could your Social Security benefits be about to cross the historic $2,000 threshold for the first time in nearly a century while President Trump simultaneously pushes for the biggest tax overhaul since his first term? What if I told you that both of these monumental changes could reshape your financial future in ways you never imagined? And the clock is ticking with a July 9th deadline that could determine whether millions of Americans see their paychecks grow or their retirement security strengthen. If you want to stay ahead of these critical developments that could directly impact your wallet, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell because we're breaking down the most important financial news that mainstream media often overlooks. The political landscape in Washington is heating up as President Trump makes an aggressive push to get his comprehensive tax bill through the Senate before the July 9th deadline, and the implications for everyday Americans are staggering. This legislation makes permanent the successful 2017 Trump tax cuts and includes critical pro-growth policies that will cut taxes by an additional $1,300 for a family of 4. But what does this really mean for your monthly budget and long-term financial planning? The urgency behind this July deadline isn't just political theater. It's about economic momentum and the timing of when these benefits could start flowing to American families who are still feeling the pinch from years of inflation and economic uncertainty. Let's dive deep into what this tax bill actually contains because the details matter far more than the political headlines. The bill includes temporary changes designed to make good on several of Trump's campaign pledges, including no taxes on overtime earned between 2026 and 2028, which could be a game-changer for millions of workers who rely on overtime pay to make ends meet. But here's where it gets interesting for car buyers. The legislation would also allow Americans to deduct interest on car loans, but only if the car is made in the United States. Think about what this means if you're planning to buy a vehicle in the next few years. Are you going to factor in this potential tax benefit when deciding between a domestic and foreign car? The scope of this tax legislation goes far beyond what most people realize, and President Trump has called for permanent extension of the 2017 tax cuts. Additional policies including no taxes on tips, overtime pay, and Social Security benefits for retirees, as well as creation of a deduction for auto loan interest for American-made cars. This comprehensive approach represents a fundamental shift in how the federal government approaches taxation, particularly for working families and retirees who have been struggling with the rising cost of living. The no-tax policy on tips alone could transform the financial lives of millions of service industry workers, from restaurant servers to hotel staff, who depend on gratuities as a significant portion of their income. But what about Social Security? And why is everyone talking about this $2,000 milestone? Here's where the numbers get really exciting for current and future retirees. The Social Security Administration is poised to make history in June 2025 as monthly retirement benefits for U.S. workers are expected to exceed $2,000 for the first time in the program's 9-decade history, with the average retired worker benefit hitting $1,999.97 in April. We're literally talking about crossing a threshold that represents nearly 90 years of Social Security evolution. And this isn't just symbolic, it's a reflection of how cost of living adjustments and benefit calculations have finally reached a point where the average retiree is seeing meaningful monthly payments. Now, you might be wondering how Trump's tax proposals intersect with Social Security benefits, and this is where the policy gets complex but potentially very beneficial for retirees. While the House bill didn't include the complete elimination of taxes on Social Security benefits that Trump campaigned on, it does include a new tax break for senior citizens, an extra $4,000 deduction for filers who are 65 and older, called an enhanced deduction for seniors. This means that even if you don't see the complete elimination of Social Security taxes, you could still see substantial tax relief that puts more money back in your pocket each year. The financial impact of these changes extends far beyond the immediate tax savings. And here's what financial planners aren't telling you about the long-term implications. If you're currently receiving Social Security benefits or planning to claim them in the next few years, the combination of benefits crossing the $2,000 threshold and potential tax relief could represent thousands of dollars in additional annual income. The Senior Citizens League estimates the typical senior household would save $3,000 annually in 2025 if taxation on Social Security were eliminated, and that this would make up for 69% of the loss of purchasing power retirees have experienced. Think about what an extra $3,000 per year could mean for your retirement lifestyle, your ability to handle unexpected medical expenses, or your capacity to help family members financially. The urgency of the July 9th deadline isn't arbitrary, and understanding the political mechanics behind this timeline is crucial for predicting whether these changes will actually become law. Budget reconciliation rules allow the Senate to pass certain tax and spending measures with a simple majority rather than the typical 60-vote threshold needed to overcome a filibuster. But these special procedures come with strict deadlines and limitations. The July 9th date represents a critical window where Republicans can move this legislation through the Senate without needing Democratic support. But missing this deadline could mean waiting months or even years for another opportunity to pass comprehensive tax reform. What makes this situation even more interesting is how the various components of the tax bill could affect different income groups and age demographics. The House Ways and Means bill also extends the maximum child tax credit of $2,000 enacted via the TCJ, and temporarily raises the tax break to $2,500 per child through 2028. This means families with children could see immediate relief that compounds with other tax benefits, creating a substantial improvement in their overall tax situation. But here's the question that every family should be asking: how do you position yourself to maximize these benefits if they become law? And what should you be doing right now to prepare for these potential changes? The broader economic implications of crossing the Social Security $2,000 threshold go beyond individual benefits and touch on fundamental questions about retirement security in America. When we look at Social Security benefits and supplemental security income payments for more than 72.5 million Americans increasing to 5% in 2025, we're seeing the culmination of multiple economic factors including inflation adjustments, wage growth, and demographic shifts that have been building for years. This isn't just about 1 month's payment being slightly higher than $2,000. It's about a trajectory that suggests Social Security benefits are finally keeping pace with the real cost of living for the first time in decades. The interconnection between Trump's tax agenda and Social Security policy reveals a broader strategy to address economic pressures that have been building on American families for years. While critics argue about the fiscal implications of reducing tax revenue, supporters point to the economic stimulus effect of putting more money directly into consumers' hands. The reality is that whether you support or oppose these policies, they represent some of the most significant potential changes to federal tax and benefit policy in recent memory, and the outcomes will likely influence American household finances for decades to come. Looking ahead to what happens after July 9th, regardless of whether the Senate passes this comprehensive tax bill, the Social Security $2,000 milestone represents a fundamental shift in how we think about retirement benefits in America. The fact that average benefits are reaching this level suggests that future retirees might finally be able to rely on Social Security as a more substantial component of their retirement income, rather than just a supplement to other savings. But this also raises important questions about the long-term sustainability of the Social Security system and whether current funding mechanisms can support these higher benefit levels as the baby boomer generation continues to retire in large numbers. The political dynamics surrounding both the tax bill and Social Security changes are worth understanding because they affect the likelihood of these policies becoming permanent versus being modified or reversed in future legislative sessions. Trump's ability to deliver on campaign promises regarding tax relief and Social Security benefits will likely influence his political capital for other priorities, while the economic results of these policies will provide real-world data about their effectiveness. For individual Americans, this means staying informed about not just the immediate changes but also the political sustainability of these policies over time. As we watch these developments unfold, the key takeaway is that both the potential tax changes and the Social Security milestone represent opportunities for Americans to improve their financial situations, but only if they understand how to navigate and optimize these benefits. Whether you're a current retiree seeing your Social Security benefits cross the $2,000 threshold, a working family potentially benefiting from expanded tax credits and deductions, or someone planning for future retirement, these policy changes require active engagement rather than passive hope. The difference between those who benefit significantly from these changes and those who see minimal impact will largely depend on financial literacy, strategic planning, and the willingness to adapt to new opportunities as they emerge.